So we had a couple of them escape. Just want to let Oreo do his work to get them back in there. All right, one more. Walk. Walk. Stay, 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 stay. Push him in there. Hi. You know, more I've been sitting out here thinking, more I've been just watching everything that's going on around me. I wonder how many of the other you just really take a good look at stuff that happens around you and just think like, why is it that everything on this earth does something different than what human beings do? My name is Mark Anthony DuBose Jr., and I was born July 4th of 1986. And I just feel like I have to question a lot about what it is that I see out here in nature as opposed to what it is that I see us as human beings do. That we are one of, not the same, but our instinct is, I'm going to say, very, very similar in a way. That the more I study these animals, the more I realize the more we are just like them with certain characteristics and certain traits that they have that they're constantly doing it, that they're all about. And also at the same time, the way that their species has been able to evolve, and not in a way of evolving that we all came from the same atoms and we all came from something. No, that God created this, but the evolution of being able to make sure that you're maintaining and staying alive. And something very interesting about, like, say, keeping your gene pool alive, keeping your legacy alive, keeping making sure that you're constantly growing and not headed to destruction, where you're just ended up in a situation where everybody's fighting away to the point that now there's nothing at all. And something I feel like I noticed that I constantly keep seeing the more and more that I pay attention to these animals is something that's just a complete 180 shift as opposed to what we as human beings do. And when it comes to every single one of these species out here, and it even comes down to the plants and the trees and the everything, the chickens, the cows, the pigs, everything that I see. Everything I notice is different in a way of the males are protected. The males are fighting to make sure that they're able to keep on going. And they push the weak ones away, and they get them out of there so that the strong males can keep on going, because the strong males know that my seed is strong and my seed is going to be able to make sure that everything keeps on cruising and everything keeps on growing, and that we don't just dwindle away and become nothingness. And also something that I very, very much notice with every single one of these animal species is the females, the ladies, support the male. They do everything for the male. They do whatever it takes for the male. They sacrifice everything inside of them for the male. They will give up food to make sure that the male keeps on surviving and keeps on thriving, to make sure that they're the biggest, the baddest, the bestest, the strongest, that they're just the most powerful being out here. It's a very interesting thing that I just watched this with all these animals, especially when I'm just sitting here. I've just been sitting here watching the sunset, which is still something that's very strange to me, and how you guys are telling me that this world is round and we're spinning and doing all this stuff when the sun just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up to how it shifts and how it changes and how the times change and how everything works. That something going on that I don't think that a lot of people have good understanding with that. But just sitting here, I'm just watching these cows, and I just pay real close attention to the females over the males. And I watch all the males just growing exponentially. I watch them grow, especially my bull man. He is in power. He is thick, he's huge, he's jumbo, he's juicy, he is well fed. And I notice the ladies sacrifice everything that they have inside of them to make sure that he is that way. The ladies sacrifice everything inside of them to make sure that their kids are good to go. Their kids are big, their kids are plump, their kids are growing very, very strong, but the women are lean. They're leaning down. And I feel like something very interesting at the same time as well is I watch a lot of these animals, and I notice that every single one of these animals, once they give birth, like, they lose weight. And they give everything that they can to those kids, to those babies. And they don't just push them off to the, there's some that push them off to the side, but there's the one thing that I do always notice pretty much 100% of the time is they lean down and they give all their energy to their children to make sure that their child is able to survive. And they don't just skimp on that. They don't just push them away. And if they do that, natural selection of the world is a very unfortunate thing, but fortunate at the same time, because it just weeds them out and gets rid of them. Because like for me, I just really take a good hard look, and I took a good notice of these animals out here. Is what it is that I pay close attention to, is something I feel like has been my calling, to just really get a better understanding of what they are and what they're all about. And just really dialing in and just getting a good grasp of how they are and how they function and what they do and what they don't do. And something I notice in every one of these species that I've been playing with, especially these cows and these goats and these chickens, is when the women don't take care of their kids, they die. They just pass away. It's like the universe is saying, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and it kicks them out, it pushes them away, and it just gets rid of them. And it makes that happen real fast in reality, and it gives them a really harsh way of being able to live, and it gives them a really hard time to be able to figure out how to be able to function and how to be able to do on this planet. And it's something that's very interesting to me, because I watch this over and over and over. I watch it all the time. I watch it with chickens all the time. When chickens are battling and fighting, and we got one that's just, I call it gossiping, because it's what they do. I pay real close attention. They're just gossiping. They're just chattering. They're just running their mouth. They're just being ruthless, trying to fight each other. Like they don't make it. They don't make it real far at all. And they just get taken out. And then the males are always, especially with chicken, it's incredible with chicken, that I haven't been able to experience this much with bigger species animals yet, because I haven't had too many of the same sex animals. I try to do my best to make sure I only have just the one male, because I know how powerful that they are. That they will fight the weak one, push the weak one. They will not allow access to food to the weak ones, so that they can become stronger and get better. And then the ladies all come to that stronger one. They all come and flock around that one that's just got their back, basically. There's some of these animals that will run out predators. A bigger predator will even come in, and they will push it away, saying, you're not touching my stuff. You're not messing with my stuff. That they have this natural instinct in them to put themselves in an absolute amount of danger. And then the women just look at them even more with respect, like, hey, you're awesome. And I feel like we as a people are running into a situation where we're no longer doing that. We're no longer in that, because we no longer have this sense of danger, because everything is already like set up. Everything is already good to go. That now we're running into a situation where we're running into where I notice how the ladies that don't have the guys around with all these animals. This always happens with the ladies and the dogs aren't around. I mean, the males aren't around. Is that they start to become very, very nervous. They start to not know what to do. They start to just get really, really confused with how to be able to function, how to be able to get some stuff done. They get really, really confused with how to be able to protect themselves from the other predators that come around. That one day they think that they're good to go in their little flock when there's 50 of them together. And then all of a sudden a threat comes, and then they all just fold, they all shut down, they can't handle it. They don't know what to do. But they ran into a situation because there's no male around, because there's no male to be able to do anything for them. And I feel like we as a people, like, I don't know why I got to change what I've been doing, change what I've been talking about, and change more into the more controversial ways of what it is that I really know that I need to talk about, because it's a fact of life that's happening today. That we're pushing away a certain amount of people on this planet. That for me, I feel like I'm starting to become something that when people see me, they're just like, hey, what the heck is that? And it's a very, very interesting situation, because I feel like people aren't used to seeing guys that just stand up tall, stand up strong, look up straight, just get stuff done and stay motivated and do exactly what they say and make happen what they're going to say that they're going to do. That's starting to become like not existent anymore. And then if you are that, you're classified and labeled as something very, very ruthless, and something that you just hate all people and you hate all women, you hate all men. And it's a very, very interesting situation that goes on out here. That the more and more I keep on studying these animals, the more and more I just feel like, and I see like, and I have a good understanding like that we as human beings, we're running into a very sticky situation where we're trying to push away the strong ones, where we're trying to push away the ones that get stuff done, where we're trying to demean and put down anybody that lives out of their feelings and just get stuff done. Like, get out your feelings and get it done. That's, I feel like, one of the major lessons that I learned as a child that my father was teaching me on making sure that I'm able to be a strong, successful person on this planet is, dude, get out your feelings. What you feeling? We got stuff that we need to do. We got stuff that needs to happen. And that concept that I've been reading a lot more of these parenting books lately, that there's a big shift in, say, parenting books that were written the past 10 years as opposed to the ones that were written any time before that. Then nowadays, they don't talk about that. They say, no. Let that boy cry. Let that boy just quit. Let that boy just make a decision. Let that boy just give up. Just let him have his time. And it's like, there's a huge shift going on that we're going to run into a jam on this planet, because I'm telling you, I see what goes on with these animals, that when you take those guys away, the ladies don't make it. They make it for a little bit until something happens. And then they run into a situation that they are not able to keep going and keep cruising and keep making some stuff happen. And then they run into a situation that they all just start to die off. And then if they all start to die off, what happens at that time? Then we're no longer repopulating. Now we're no longer going anymore. Now we're no longer able to grow anymore. That I feel like there's a design going on this planet today that I feel like everybody is looking at the wrong thing, that like these elites and this whatever is going on that's trying to sabotage and do this. I feel like everybody's looking in the wrong direction with what exactly their game plan is and what they're trying to do. That if you want to depopulate the planet, the best way to do that is to make sure that you make all the males feel like girls. You push them down, you suppress them all. Then the ones that are men, you make everybody hate them because you want to not let them be around. And then you're going to start noticing that people are going to stop having kids. Because when you have a whole bunch of ladies together that are all doing what they're doing, they're not having children because there's no guy around. And if they are having children, and it's a very interesting situation in how our country is very interesting, it's like against the law in reality for a dude to have more than one kid with another woman or have more than one wife, which is going to be a very interesting situation in the future, because if there's only 10 guys that are strong and willing and able, there's going to be 1,000 females that are trying to get those 10, and those 10 guys can't possibly, say legally in our country, do what it is that they got to do. Then it's going to run into a very, very sticky situation where now we no longer have any more children being born. And I feel like we're kind of messing up as a society with paying attention to what we're paying attention to and not actually doing what it is that we need to do. That we're headed in a very destructive way, that we are not making sure that we are maintaining, keeping up with, doing more with, what do you call that, having children and growing this planet. That we're kind of hitting a standstill, and if anything, getting worse and kind of going downhill. That I want more people to really take a good hard look at what it is that you value, what it is you really care for. Especially for a lot of y'all young ladies out here that just decide, like, I'm not having no kids and I don't want no man, I don't need no relationship and I don't need no this. It's like, it's going to come at a time in a day that things are going to be very, very challenging for you, and you're going to kind of not have a chance to go back. You're not going to have a chance to redo. You're just going to have to keep on pushing forward and moving forward and living forward, because you think that you saw something damaging in your life. You think that these people are so mean. You think that everything is so wrong. It's like, if I'm going to say something that might be messed up, but in reality, it's just something that I feel like a lot of people need to hear and needs to be said. If you stay in your place, things would be fine. And that's something that every human being needs to understand, that men need to stay in their place and do their role and make their character happen. Where women also need to stay in their place and do their role and make their character happen. That we shouldn't be trying to mix the two. That there's one for a reason and there's another for a reason. That we have to have the both, and we can't just sit here and think that one can do the other and one can do the both and go that route in any sort of way. Where I feel like we're in a situation that we think that we can, where a woman thinks that she could be a man and she could do what men do and she can make some stuff happen that a man can make happen. And on the opposite side of that, we got guys that think that they could do what ladies are and make that happen. And I feel like that is something that is I felt like it used to be a very small percentage. But when I really look around today, when I really go to places and do what I do, when I talk to people, when I'm going on my walks everywhere, it's not a small group of people anymore at this moment. It's starting to become like a bigger thing going on. That when I just do what I do, when I have what I have, when I'm confident the way that I'm confident, people don't like seeing that. People don't want any part of that. People want to like kind of just like get out of here. Don't even let my kids see that, because I don't want my kids to even think to even be like that. And it's not anymore just a small little like 0.5% or 1% or even a 10%, I could say. It's like the mass majority of being like 90% of people today are starting to change how they view this world and how they view certain people. And I feel like we need to, as a people, take a good hard look at what we're doing to make sure that we're able to keep on going and growing and thriving on this planet. Because what we have today wasn't just put here because nobody was putting in work, nobody put sacrifice, nobody was courageous. All of that had to happen for us to be able to be where we are today. And that comes down to the point of being grateful for what all is here before you got here. All this was here before you got here. And I feel like a lot of people think and take that for granted, thinking that it's going to continue to be there if we don't keep working on it, if we don't keep pushing forward with it. And it's something that I just feel like a lot of us are getting very, very confused with, that in our own country, we're getting confused, but people are coming here from other countries. And I don't think that people have a good, clear understanding of why we're bringing all the immigrants in, and why they're coming in so freely, and why they're able to use all our resources for free, and why they're thriving and cruising and going along, because they don't have that concept that us Americans do with what it is that we believe in, and how we look at what we have is just, it's just trash. They're coming over here saying, we'll do it, we'll build it, we'll work, we'll make the sacrifice, we'll stay dedicated, where their values are completely different. And I think a lot of us are looking the wrong direction with what's going on here, and what we need to really focus in on. And I think that the main thing that we really should start focusing in on is making sure that you are in your role. And your role is to do something that you were intended to do. And if you decide that I want to do that person's role, you need to get out of that and start doing your role, and start taking care of what it is that you need to take care of. And with that said, I just want to say thank you for today, and thank you for this weekend, and thank you for this new year. That I've got to do a whole lot of different thinking with what's been going on with me, that for some reason I've had just a shift, a change, a thought in me that's been really just changing up a lot with what I see and have a good understanding with on this world. This weekend, and the places that I've gone and the things that I've done kind of really let me know that the things are changing, and they're changing in a way that it's not, and I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but I don't care at the same time. It's not God's will, the way that things are changing, the way that things are starting to become, that God's will is starting to get pushed down to absolute nothingness, that God's will is starting to get trampled on, that God's will is starting to just get disappeared in reality, that God is starting to just not even be a part of anybody, anywhere, any business, any company, anything, that is starting to just become like if you believe in that, then you're stupid, and nothing's gonna, I don't know, it's a very interesting situation. But for me to live the life that I'm living and doing what it is that I'm doing, I feel like I'm headed into a very, very small channel, small group of people. And as much as I'm satisfied with that, at the same time I'm not, because I just know that there should be more going with that. And that's something that we really need to take a good hard look at what we're doing as a people, to make sure that we are growing, and we are not just staying stagnant, and we are not getting worse off. But just in my opinion of looking out here and seeing what I'm seeing and going all the places that I'm going, we are going, I feel like, in a not so great way, as opposed to what God's will is. That we are trying to do everything we can in our power to damage and damn him. And that's something that is going to be very destructive in the end. And it's not going to be anything pleasant. And it's something that I want to make sure that more people get away from that and start to do what it is that they need to do, without having the feeling of being out of control, the feeling of just rage, the feeling of frustration. And that's something that a lot of us really should start to really take a good hard look at ourselves, and what it is that we're trying to push out to people, and what it is, the information that we're constantly listening to, and what it is that we're doing. Because I'm telling you, these animals are a very interesting existence being out here, that we're out here doing some stuff that is going completely against nature. It's going completely against what the natural selection is. That I'm telling you, these ladies take really, really good care of their men. Like, they do everything, they do everything in their power to make sure that they're able to be there and be able to keep on producing, to keep on cruising. It's not the opposite way. It definitely just is not that way. It's always like 8 to 10 females to one guy. It's always that way with everything out here. It's that way with plants. It's that way with veggies. Then yes, if you don't believe me, there's a such thing as female plants and male veggies. That's obviously a real thing. But it's always like that. There's always a multiple to the one. And that's something that I feel like a lot of us are neglecting and not paying attention to, where we're thinking that it almost kind of needs to be the other way. And when it tries to go the other way, they just never make it. They just don't make it. And I hope that y'all can get a real good, better thought in your mind of what it is that we're doing out here, to make sure that we're growing and not headed to absolute destruction, because you just are totally ungrateful for what has, say, came here and come to you. And instead of you having a good idea of being very grateful that it was already here, that you didn't create it, you didn't do it, you didn't do anything to make it, that it was already here. Be grateful for that, and stop just trampling on it, and stop trying to just demolish it. Because I'm telling you, most this isn't going to take long. It's not going to be my lifetime. In reality, I have to really much worry about it. I think, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's going to be able to go that fast compared to what I see today. But for my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids, It's going to be a very much struggle for any guy to say I'm a man and any girl to say I'm a woman. And for anyone to say I want a family, that's going to be something that's going to be very not look great upon. And that's the best way to make sure that we don't have many people on this planet anymore, because it's not going to be able to survive that way. And I hope that more people are going to be able to have a better understanding of how to be able to just do what it is that they need to do to make sure that you're not a part of that you're trying to be a part of making sure that we are growing as a people and not trying to destroy this world.